Let's get started. Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. We're really excited to be hosting this session with our partners at Google, focused on one of the biggest evolutions we've seen in the local services ads product, the shift from the Google Guaranteed badge to the Google Verified badge. This change represents a major step forward in how businesses build trust online, connect with customers, and ultimately drive more qualified leads in 2026 and into the future. Today's conversation will walk through what's changing, what it means for your business, and how Scorpion and Google are partnering to help advertisers stay ahead and get the most out of their LSA investment. Before we dive in, I want to just do a quick introduction. My name is Caitlin DePello. I'm a senior product manager at Scorpion. I own the LSA product. My team works very closely with Google to help thousands of local businesses launch, optimize, and scale their LSA campaigns, everything from onboarding and lead automation to new feature adoption and performance strategy. And joining me today is Elise Goldman from Google. I'll let her introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Elise Goldman, and I'm a product lead, and I've been working on local services ads since 2017. My role is really twofold. One, I drive commercialization and activation of LSA across all types of advertisers. And then two, through working with large agencies like Scorpion, I really understand the needs of our advertisers and am able to bring that back to our product and engineering teams to make sure LSA keeps evolving to both help our consumers find trustworthy businesses near them and also help businesses like you grow your business and get more high quality leads out of Google. So excited to chat today.
Thank you. Okay, here's a quick look at what we're going to be covering today. We'll start with a brief history and overview of LSAs and how Scorpion sees the channel as a whole from a performance standpoint. And then Elise is going to go into a few of the key verification changes that have happened recently. And then we're going to talk about what you can actually do to improve your rank. What are the important factors for ranking with LSA and a few takeaways that you can do today to increase your performance. And then we're going to go into the benefits of working with an agency for LSA management, and specifically why Scorpion is a great partner to work with. And then, as Andrew mentioned, we're going to have a live Q&A at the end to make sure all of your questions are answered. Also, feel free to ask live questions throughout the presentation, and Elise and I might jump in and answer those as we're going or answer them live if we see that it would add a lot of value to what we're speaking to. All right, so first, LSA history. So I wanted to take a look back at how far LSAs have come since the launch of them in 2015 with the Google Guaranteed badge. When Google Guaranteed first launched, it was a brand new way for local businesses to build trust directly in the search results. Since launch, LSAs have evolved tremendously, dramatically changing over the years. Scorpion supported LSAs prior to 2019, but in 2019, we really saw the uptick in performance and importance of LSA, and it became one of the main supported and integrated advertising channels in our advertising strategy. And then we saw a huge shift in 2020 when bidding was introduced, completely changing how advertisers support performance, spend, and strategy. And then in 2023, the ranking algorithm really developed into something new, with message leads now being prioritized and actually impacting rank. So if you weren't running message leads, it could have a negative impact on your ad. And then in 2024, a huge shift happened when the LSA disputes were deprecated and replaced by auto crediting and the lead feedback system, which also marked a huge shift in the way that consumers could work with LSA and get their money back for any sort of bad quality lead. It was definitely a big shift. And then this year with the Google Verified badge, we're completely deprecating Google Guaranteed and the $2,000 money back guarantee from Google and moving to one badge supporting all of LSA. And basically, all of this just shows the different milestones throughout the product evolution. And there's a lot more that goes into all the different changes and whatnot. But it just shows how rapidly LSAs continue to evolve and why staying ahead of these shifts and partnering with someone like Scorpion or an agency is very beneficial. Okay, next, just a quick refresher. LSAs are the ads you see at the very top of Google search when looking for a local provider, They operate on a pay-per-lead model, feature verified local businesses, and get premium placement above traditional search advertising, map ads, any sort of organic ads. So when someone searches for something like plumber near me, these are the businesses that show up first, and they've been verified and vetted by Google, so adding more trust. And then looking at the performance across Scorpion, very high level, LSA continue to be one of our, if not the highest return channels. On average, cost per lead is 51% lower and cost per acquisition is 63% lower compared to traditional search advertising, which speaks to just how efficient that channel really is. And LSAs now make up nearly 35% of all ad spend at Scorpion and continues to grow with a 5% increase compared to last year. And when you combine the lower costs and higher quality leads, it's clear why the return on ad spend from LSAs consistently outperforms every other channel we run. So overall, LSAs continue to be most efficient, higher return channels. And one of the key factors of that in order to get live on LSA is going through the verification process. We all know that there is a onboarding process and there's a lot of support needed there. And there's constant changes happening on Google's side. So now Elise is going to talk through a few of the big ones that have recently happened.
Great. So really, I think key to the LSA mission is to be a marketplace with two main goals. One is to support our consumers and helping them find trustworthy, verified businesses near them. The second is for you as a business or advertiser, helping your business stand out and then being able to generate like really high quality leads. To do both of that and have a healthy marketplace requires super strong advertiser quality and verification processes. As Caitlin mentioned, LSA launched in 2015, and over the past 10 years, there have been a lot of evolutions. And I would say the past year marks two big ones with verification. The first is a unified badge that I'll talk through. And the second one is the Google Business Profile affiliation and the partnership between a GBP profile and your LSA profile. So looking at the Google verified badge, like I said, I've been on this product forever, and a lot of people refer to it as the Google Guaranteed product. If you're from home services, if you're a law firm, you refer to it as Google Screened. And when we did extensive research, both in focus groups and online testing, we found that consumers were confused. They couldn't differentiate between the multiple badges, guaranteed versus screen, and they didn't really understand the value of the money back promise, or they didn't even see it showing up in the ad. The other thing we learned was we ran a bunch of experiments where we removed the badge from different placements. You may have even reached out to Scorpion and said, hey, what happened to the badge? I don't see it anymore. Over the past year, they've done a lot of testing to really understand what ultimately drives more user engagement, which then means more high quality leads for you. And the data is pretty clear. When we remove the badge from the search engine's results page, so your main google.com, we saw user engagement increase. To be frank, that kind of surprised me, but that is what the data showed. However, we know that the badge does matter, both to consumers and to advertisers. So we had to rethink how to approach it. So now we have one unified badge. It is the Google Verified badge, which you could see on the screen here with the blue check mark versus the historical green badge for Google Guaranteed. And it does show on your LSA profile along with what verification have been complete. So you could see here, like they passed license checked and passed background checked. So we're still able to display the trust and the verification that has been run by Google, but in a place that matters more for consumers. With this, we may notice over time that where we show the badge does drive increased engagement. So you may see the badge pop up in different places when Google knows it will lead to better quality leads for you. As far as the money back, with this change, we have removed the $2,000 money back promise. This change went into effect end of October. So consumers still have a few more weeks to file any claims made through end of October, but then by the end of November, this will be completely removed. We can move on to the next slide. The second change that we made was the requirement of your Google business profile and affiliation. What this means is really two things. One, every LSA must be connected to a verified and active Google business profile. And two, whoever is running that LSA ad needs permission to access that GBP profile. So that does mean making sure Scorpion or your agency of record has access to your GBP profile, or you as a merchant have access to your LSA profile. This is to really help with fraud and misrepresentation and making sure whoever is running the LSA ad has the rights to that Google business profile. Over time, the connection between GBP and LSAs are just continuing to increase. Your business is your business, so how you represent yourself, your name should be the same across all Google properties. So there has been increased enforcement and will continue to be more enforcement and even data syncing across your Google business profile and your local and your LSA account. So my I guess call to action for you is that if your key business information changes, if you move locations, if you merge with another company or get acquired and change your name, think about how you display your name across Google properties and make sure that if you update your Google business profile, you also update your LSA, or work with Scorpion to make sure that the updates are consistent across all your platforms to avoid this connection and affiliation between your ad and your organic profile from dropping off. So with that, like, you will continue to see more and more evolution with verification. It is core to LSA, and as things change, Google is always evaluating what we should do to really make sure we're providing that healthy marketplace for both our consumers and our businesses.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Elise. Now we're going to move into specifically how to improve your rank, how can you influence your rank, what are a few things that you can do in order to have a positive impact on your ad. So when we talk about improving rank, I like to think about them in 4 key levers that Scorpion focuses on when optimizing local service ads. So there's profile quality, there's the ways in which a customer can reach you, so your badge eligibility, like verification, your ad schedule, et cetera, and then your coverage. So we look at rank as the likelihood of earning a lead. The higher you rank, the more often your ad is shown and the more likely customers are to engage with it. That all starts with what users see before they reach out or engage with their ad, your profile quality. So that means high quality photos, strong reviews, and call outs will help you stand out and build trust. Then comes the actual intake experience. So it's not just about how you're presenting yourself in the market, it's how you're managing and interacting with the leads that come in. So if Google sees a call going unanswered or messages left without responses, that can hurt visibility. Quick, reliable engagement signals a better user experience, which benefits your rank over time. We also encourage always that clients are opting into all available features like message leads, booking leads, direct business search, because the broader your coverage and the more ways a customer can reach you, the greater opportunity to show up higher in the ad rank, because Google will trust that you're going to be servicing the leads that they provide to you in a positive way. So in short, Scorpion focuses on these 4 levers because together they influence what matters most: visibility, engagement, and consistent lead flow. Now, to go into a few things directly, I wanted to speak about direct business search. So direct business search is a newer feature that Google has launched. We see right now that about 20% of all LSA leads coming in are from direct business search. A huge perk for DBS leads is that Google does not charge for a returning customer. And out of all the leads that are coming in for DBS, 62% are coming from return customers, meaning that our clients are not being charged for them. So this is a great opportunity to make sure that your brand is consistent and it is showing whenever a customer is reaching out or searching for your business directly. Your LSA will show at the top of the fold above all paid and organic ads. This is particularly important when you think about competitor advertising in search. If your competitors, are targeting your business name as a keyword in order to avoid them getting any new leads that are looking for you or returning customers. You can turn on DBS and show at the top and most likely have a better chance of converting those leads. Going back to ranking, Google does look at coverage. How likely are you to be able to service a lead? If you're giving your ad the opportunity to show up at any possible time, you're more likely to get leads, which is going to have a positive impact on your rank. Next, engaging with message leads. This is so important. It has recently become more important. And we actually pulled some data back in September of this year, and we saw that the majority of our clients were not responding to any message leads that came in, and it was having a negative impact on their performance. Specifically because, as you can see in this image here, Google is actually calculating your average response time and automatically showing that on your ad, telling customers what they can expect when they reach out to you. Are you going to respond in a few minutes, a few hours, a day, etc.? So obviously, if you're a customer and you're looking and you're between two businesses and someone responds in a few hours versus a day, I personally would be more likely to reach out to the person that's going to respond to me quicker. So this is very important. We just want to also make sure that we're providing a positive experience to customers when they're reaching out to your business, because again, Google looks at how you're interacting with leads holistically, not just how quick you respond to the first message that comes through.
I just want to add in on messaging, especially in the trades. I hear a lot, when someone's toilet is clogged, they don't want to send a message, they want to call directly. What our data shows is that there is a subset of consumers who never choose to call. So adding messaging isn't cannibalizing those like really warm leads that would have gone to phone call. It's just adding another set of users or consumers who can reach out to message. We also see that nights and weekends, there's more messaging. So again, if you think about if you have a 24/7 operation, being able to handle some of those nights and weekend leads over an asynchronous channel like messaging will really help. And again, it's incremental leads. It is not cannibalizing your phone calls. But plus one to what Caitlin said, it's not just about having messaging turned on, but also making sure you can engage and respond and convert those leads too.
Perfect. Okay, and the next portion of this is managing your calls. So when we think about the ranking algorithm with Google, one of the things that has been true since the very beginning back in 2015 is responsiveness. And that is specifically talking about phone responsiveness. And phone responsiveness is specifically looking at your connected calls. So it's not just about, getting a high volume of calls that come in. You have to actually be picking up your phone, interacting with them. Don't let it go to voicemail. Don't have like a long IVR, making a client click a bunch of buttons before they can actually talk to someone. Google is looking at all of this and is using that as a measuring tool for your rank. Your responsiveness increases when your connected calls increase. You just want to make sure that you're managing your phone calls very well. The next part of this, I spoke to this at the beginning with the history of LSAs. Google moved from disputes to a lead rating service. So essentially they're asking for feedback on the leads that they're giving you. And it's very important to tell Google if you're very satisfied and why you're very satisfied, or if you're not satisfied and what is wrong with the lead. We see that providing this data back to Google influences their algorithms, and you're really telling them, hey, here are the type of leads that we really want and we really like, and here are the ones that we're not interested in. Please don't continue to serve them to me. And then following that, it is also important, Scorpion believes, that marking leads as booked can have a positive impact. You're telling Google, hey, this was not just a good lead. It actually resulted in a conversion and a book job with my business. And here's some details like customer name, service, location, job estimate, really just providing a lot of data to Google to inform them on the quality of leads that you are receiving and to really help push them to give you more leads of high quality. And then this is more of a go ahead, Elise.
Before you jump into that, I was going to say, I saw a question from Anna about what is the goal time for answering phone calls. Honestly, it kind of varies. And how do you think about IVRs? With AI, we see a lot of IVRs. We see a lot of AI voice responder answering calls. And ultimately, it's about which advertiser and which experience is meeting the consumers of where they want to be met. So first of all, if the call comes through, answering the call before that consumer hangs up. For some people, that could be 5 seconds. For some people, that could be 30 seconds. It really varies by how patient that consumer or that, potential consumer or user is. The second around the IVR also really varies. So what I've seen some businesses do is even have like a unique strategy where there are LSA calls, which they convert really high, may get routed directly to a person, whereas maybe calls coming from other sources that don't convert as high or don't have the same quality may route to an IVR. Ultimately, it's the same thing. Like, is that turning into a lead? And is that consumer willing to push a few buttons? And that trade-off between like managing your intake team and your operational efficiency with what the consumers want. So there is no answer, but it is something I really encourage you to play around with and finding that right balance of ultimately what gets that consumer to reach your agent to book a job.
It's also, I want to add one point to that. It's very important for Scorpion that we know your operational abilities because you can control the ad schedule for LSA. It's different than your business hours. Your business hours show when you're open, but your ad schedule is telling us, hey, when do we want to serve with the badge? When can we service leads? So for our clients that have 24/7 call answering services, like Elise mentioned, we would run the ad 24/7. But for a client that doesn't have that, we wouldn't run the ad 24/7 because it could negatively impact responsiveness if you're just not answering the phone because you're not working at the time. We would just run your ad during business hours. So that's another very important factor to all of this is making sure that the LSA profile is also set up to match how your business operates to give you the best results. And then next, this is a newer evolution. So websites right now are an optional feature to add to your LSA profile. We always add them automatically. Every LSA profile will have the client's website attached to them. And it's now more important than ever because Google is actually scraping your website, looking for interesting tidbits, promotions, things that can make you stand apart from other local providers in your area and actually automatically pulling them onto your ad and surfacing them. Like you can see here, Mr. Electric has a complimentary home electrical safety check. Google noticed that and was like, hey, this would be great to show on their LSA, providing value. Someone could be really interested in that. So it's actually showing up as a call out on the ad. There are the traditional call outs, which you can set up in your business bio, which we always do as well. That Google offers, like you're a local business, you're available 24/7, you offer free estimates, etc. And then there's this new portion where the dynamic callouts where Google is scraping your website, trying to find things that can make you stand apart and automatically featuring them. There's a few other examples here, like A Lighting Inc. This free estimate portion is from their LSA profile, and then the custom design services is pulling from their website. Same with Xeon Electric. Free consultation is from the LSA profile. Electric troubleshooting is pulling from their website. Okay, and I'm going to hand it off to Elise to talk about a few experiments and future launches.
Yeah. So like the website that Caitlin showed you before, we are always innovating and trying new things to ultimately see what drives more user engagement on the search page and then ultimately what delivers more high quality leads for you. Specifically for maybe even some businesses that are niche, if we're able to pull out things from your profile or from your website that really match what that person searched for on search, it may help you get higher quality leads. On the left was an experience we ran pulling from your Google Business Profile reviews. So someone searching for a friendly plumber near them may see the review say, reviews often mention friendly when being displayed in the ad. Or on the right-hand side, you see two different callouts for promotions, which are things that we run through with a few partners. We had a beta program that Scorpion was part of where we were piloting promotions. We did see that having promotions did increase engagement and are continuing to pilot this in new ways. So I think moving into the next slide and kind of talking about this promotions, honestly, anybody could run LSAs on their own. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but it is true. But from my experience, I do see that working with a Google Premier agency like a Scorpion do tend to perform better. The ads landscape is constantly evolving. She talked about that. We now have messaging as part of their ranking. We are now pulling in from your websites. Agencies have access to betas like the promotion beta, which increases user engagement. So while you can do it on your own, hiring an agency is kind of like hiring like an expert mechanic. Like they know the engine in the car better than you do, meaning they can make your money go a lot farther. So definitely something to think about for those who are or are not working with the agency. They add a lot of value in the overall ads ecosystem of helping you focus on your business and them helping people call your business.
Thank you. So now to end, I just want to talk about a few reasons of why you should work with Scorpion specifically. So at Scorpion, we combine industry expertise, advanced technology, and direct collaboration with Google to deliver unmatched LSA performance. And we've been doing it for years, about a decade now. We also have, so to go into the few pillars, we have a dedicated support team at Scorpion that work on LSAs exclusively. They're a wonderful team. They work with clients directly. All they do is live, breathe LSA. We have 3 LSA specialists right now that are dedicated to helping with the profile creation process, walk you through onboarding, help with launching a profile, make sure to stay on top of any sort of verification issues after launch or verification issues pre-launch, as well as do proactive campaign optimization and really advocate for your campaign success with Google. As a dedicated Google support, we are a premier agency partner with Google. We have weekly escalation meetings with a dedicated Google rep. We have direct collaboration with Google's product and engineering team, specifically with Elise's teams and all the people she works with over at Google. We have early access to betas and feature launches. And we have a seat at the table when we're talking about shaping the future of LSAs, specifically in the agency space. And along with all of that, because we have such a great relationship with Google, we get more data at our fingertips on a daily basis than other agencies would, or than someone would be able to get if you're just running it on your own. A few examples of this, we pull in data daily to let us know, is there a policy violation on the ad? Is there a verification issue? And we have automated signals that our team is alerted by in order to proactively fix those issues, reach out to you if you need any support there, and solve them without you having to bring it to Scorpion. Scorpion can identify things and fix them before they become a problem. And as far as a few new features that we have with campaign optimization, because of the relationship we have with Google, we're actually getting daily geo expansion recommendations. So we're being told, hey, this specific campaign, their targeting is good, it's great, but there are a few areas surrounding them that have potential lead gain if you were to add to the targeting. And then we take that, we analyze it against, a client's targeting area, see if it makes sense, and then optimize the campaign accordingly. That's just an example of some of the proactive work that we're doing. From Scorpion advertising perspective and how LSA fits in there, we approach advertising as a single integrated budget aligned with your business goals. While we manage campaigns across every major channel, LSA is always prioritized because the data is undeniable. We have the highest lead quality across all channels, the lowest cost per qualified lead, and the strongest ROI on total ad spend, which is very important to us. We're always consistently looking at your return on your advertising spend and making sure to spend your money in the channels and in the areas that are going to produce the highest return. And because LSA lead volume can fluctuate month to month, as we all know, our systems automatically reallocate spend across other top performing channels to ensure that your advertising dollars are always optimized, regardless of if LSA is having a down month or a great month. We're thinking with all channels in mind, not just LSA, but LSA is always the top priority just because it does outperform all other channels. When talking about a few specific product features when it comes to Scorpion, 2 things that I want to touch on is our Quality AI product and our newer Convert AI product. So Quality AI, going back to earlier on in this presentation, we were talking about how important it is to interact with your leads and also tell Google if you're satisfied, if you're dissatisfied, marking your leads as booked, making sure to give the data back to Google to tell them, hey, these are the leads we want and these are the leads we don't want. So what quality AI does is every lead that comes in, it analyzes it. It lets us know if it's a quality lead or a bad quality lead, tells us why it is good quality, like, hey, we provide this service, it's a high value job, it's in the area we service, or this is not a good quality lead, it's outside of our service area, we don't even provide this service, or it's spam, someone reaching out for employment, etc. So all of that happens automatically in real time when leads come in, and then we feed all of that information automatically back to Google. So every single lead will get a lead rating and a lead rating reason. And then on top of that, we have an auto crediting system at Scorpion, which I think really sets us apart in the market, because instead of having to wait 4 to 6 weeks to get your credits back from Google, Scorpion will put that money back immediately in real time to work on getting you good leads. So let's say a lead comes in, it's either auto credited by Google, Google identified after they charged you that it wasn't a good lead and they're giving you a credit back, or it's what we call a bonus credit, meaning that after we submitted negative feedback, Google agreed with us and was like, oh, we missed this one. We absolutely agree this is a bad quality lead. We're going to give you a bonus credit for it. Those credits, instead of sitting and waiting for the credit to hit your billing in Google Ads, Scorpion takes that, looks at the average lead cost for that day, and reduces your advertising spend by that amount, giving you the money back immediately and putting it back to work to make sure that you're not being negatively impacted by any negative leads that you receive through this channel and also through other premium directory channels that we offer. And then secondly, Convert AI is a newer product feature at Scorpion. We have an AI messaging assistant. And going back to the data point that I presented earlier with, over half of our clients never interacting with their message leads, we saw a huge opportunity to solve that problem for our clients for free, basically. It's a complimentary addition to all LSA profiles now. If you're running message leads, you will have the option to enable our messaging assistant. And basically what it does, it interacts with your message leads in real time, acts as a real agent. It knows your brand, it knows all the services you offer, it knows everything about your business, the tone in which you want things communicated, and acts as your automated agent and goes and works on closing leads and provides a really great intake experience and customer experience. We actually just launched this as a default basically for all of our clients over last week. And we had a client in September that had never responded to a single message lead. And the minute we turned Convert AI on and the messaging assistant got to work, the first LSA message lead that came in immediately converted to a book job within minutes. So we're seeing great results. And it's something that we really want to put a lot of emphasis on because like we've been talking about, it's very important to have a positive customer experience. Google isn't just looking at black and white. Are you writing message leads or are you not? They're really looking at the experience that is given to the customer when they're reaching out and how likely your business is to actually interact with the leads that they're giving you. Okay, lastly, before we get into the Q&A, there is a poll that if you would like to answer, that would be great. It's just if you're interested in learning more about Scorpion and our LSA solution.
Hey, Caitlin, really quick.
Yeah.
Just a small technical difficulty. When I switched you to the host, it took away my ability to launch that poll. So if you can do that, it's just under the more 3 little dots.
Of course. Poll. Launch. Done. Perfect. Okay. And now we're going to move into the live Q&A. See what we have. Okay, at least I'm just going to read out the questions and then we can decide who wants to answer. Okay. Okay, anonymous attendee. Do you guys have any resources for someone who has their Google business account suspended, trying to get an appeal approved and get access to LSA, et cetera, again, has been a major headache and it's very hard to get in touch with an actual person at Google?
So I would say, Emily, are you working with Scorpion today? If so, this is where Scorpion can help. It sounds like you've already done the first step, which is submitting the appeal. And now make sure Scorpion has that case ID or the details and they can escalate it on your behalf. As an agency, they have access to additional escalation paths and an actual person at Google who can help.
Yeah.
So again, a benefit of an agency.
Yeah, it's actually a recent development. We have our dedicated LSA rep now supports us in getting GBP's Google Business Profiles unsuspended. So we have a direct line, and it's a pretty quick turnaround process we found, and we found a lot of great results with it. So please feel free, if you are working with us, please feel free to reach out. Even if you're not, I can do what I can to help you on that. Okay, next question. Does the verified badge show the same qualifications every time, or are there multiple ways to qualify for the badge?
There are different ways to qualify for the badge, depending on the type of user. So we have something called our enterprise equivalency for multi-location enterprises that have, more than 250 employees or over a certain amount of revenue. If you as a business are doing verification yourself, you could work with Scorpion to bypass LSA verification and instead leverage the verification that you complete. And then we are rolling out something called accelerated verification that a few users may see today, where Google does some pre-vetting on the back end. And depending on what we find, you may see a different set of requirements than a different business. Ultimately, the badge is the same. So no matter what requirements you complete, the badge is the Google verified badge. There is no difference in badge based on the requirements. But on your profile, you won't see someone being called out for background check if, let's say, background check wasn't completed, or same thing, you won't see an insurance or license call out if that business wasn't licensed or insured checked. So again, ultimately, same badge, but different verification for different sets of businesses.
I will say too, moving to the verified badge is more of a cosmetic move right now. When you go in and actually go through the verification and onboarding process, everything is still required. You still have to go through background checks, like Elise mentioned, insurance and COI, and GBP now, unless you have the enterprise equivalency. But it's basically just a new way to display the badge and displaying the actual verifications you went through to get that badge underneath it on your ad. Okay, next. Thank you for the webinar. It was helpful. Oh, great. Thank you. I have a question about the connection between a GBP and an LSA. You mentioned that the relationship is growing stronger. Does activity on our GBP, such as uploading images frequently, expanding services, job types, etc., currently impact LSA?
Ultimately, you should do what's best for you and a business, and those things will help your GBP profile. As far as the ranking, like getting new reviews, getting more ratings and engagement may show through your LSA profile, which may improve performance, but it's not like a super direct component of if you add a photo on GBP, it will help your LSA, especially because right now your GBP photos don't auto port to your LSA. So you have to manage your photos for LSA and GBP separately. But for things like rating and reviews, yes, it absolutely will have an impact on your LSA profile. And I encourage you to continue getting more reviews and responding and engaging with those reviews.
And also, I just want to add a point to that. When I think about the GBP relationship with LSA, it's more on the verification side and making sure that it is linked and affiliated. Because if it is not, then your account won't be eligible to show with the badge. And changes to your GBP, like if you go in and change your business name or you change your address and it's not reflected in LSA, that could cause the GBP to unlink and pull your ad down. So it's very important to make sure when you're going in and changing anything with GBP, a lot of changes cause, re-verification to be triggered, which will also unlink from your LSA. So it's just very important to be intentional with any sort of major changes you're making to GBP because it now has a direct impact on LSA.
Caitlin, there was another question on GBP, so maybe we could just cover it. It was asking about your business hours. I would recommend your LSA and your GBP business hours to be the same because those are the hours your business runs. However, with LSA, there's an additional feature called ad scheduling. So let's say you can set your business hours if it's 8 to 5 or 8 to 6, but if you want your LSA ad running 24/7, you could have your ad run beyond your business hours at 24/7. So all in all, have the business hours match, but leverage ad scheduling with LSA if you want your ad to run outside of those core business hours.
Yes, and just reiterating the importance to make sure you only run the ad outside of business hours if you have the capacity to service the leads outside of business hours. Very important because you don't want to have a negative impact on your responsiveness or your message lead response time, et cetera, if you're unable to service the leads as they're coming in because your business is closed. Okay, next one. Which factor has a greater impact on ranking and visibility? Proximity of the office location or the review score and number of reviews?
I cannot speak to the exact auction algorithm. What I will say, a lot of things matter, but if you are a service area business, like you're a plumber or HVAC technician who sends trucks to someone's house, proximity to your home business address doesn't matter. What matters is the zip codes or the counties you're willing to service.
And a second part to this question, just from my experience, when I marked and rated LSA leads, it was as if our traction in leads slowed down. That's interesting. Is there a way we can send feedback to Google about our leads without risking it slowing down the lead traction? And which is most important, rating the lead or marking the booked leads? So regarding rating and submitting feedback, that shouldn't have any impact on the traction of your campaign. What it really is doing is you're just informing Google of the good leads that are coming in and then the bad leads that are coming in. I can let Elise speak to that a little bit more from the technical side, but to answer your question on what is more important, rating the lead or marking the booked lead, definitely getting the lead rating in is more important because you're actually submitting that feedback to Google and that feedback does have an impact and does influence Google's algorithm. It gives them a lot of data to think with. It lets them know the leads that they're providing, if they're positive or negative, good, bad. Whereas booked leads is more so arming Google with additional data, but also using the tools provided to say, hey, this lead converted into a job, but it's really important to always submit feedback. And we know that's why quality AI is so great as a product feature, because if you're getting hundreds of leads, a month, that's a lot of work to go in and manually be leaving feedback across the board on all of your leads. So that's why it's really great having an automated system analyze all of your leads and do that for you. But Elise, did you want to add anything to that on the leads slowing down?
I would say absolutely rating your leads is the number one thing to do to get more of the leads you like and less of the leads you don't like. And then we will provide some bonus credits for poor quality leads. Again, it takes time to learn. So I want to set expectations that if you provide feedback that you don't like this lead, that doesn't mean tomorrow you're not going to get that lead. Like AI systems require a lot of input, and we're looking at both the aggregate across all painters, let's say, and their leads, which leads they like and don't like, but then also for you particular, which are the good leads and which are the bad leads. But it does take time for the system to improve and evolve. So please be patient and do not expect like same day changes to lead quality.
Perfect. And then the last question in the Q&A, are you suggesting that we pause or cancel Google PPC ads and just use LSA? No, I am not suggesting to do that. At Scorpion, we look at your advertising strategy as a holistic combination of various different channels, including traditional search advertising, Google PPC, because LSA is doing great this month, it's a very volatile channel. There's a lot of things that go into performance and it can go up and down. We've seen that happen a lot. So the last thing we would want to do is silo all of your money or advertising dollars in one channel and not have channels behind the scenes and ready to go to support and fill in the gaps if it's needed. So we definitely do not recommend just running LSA. We like to run channels across the board, and then we prioritize based off of the performance of those channels. And LSA just happens to 9 times out of 10 outperform every other channel we have. Elise, did you want to add anything to that about the PPC side? No? Okay. Okay, well, those are all of the questions. If anyone has any other questions, please submit them and we can answer them live. And if not, then that's the webinar. Thank you all for joining. Okay, perfect. I don't see any more questions coming in, so thank you all. Have a wonderful rest of your day. We appreciate it. Bye.